My daughter handed me a $5 Starbucks card and called me practical. 10 minutes later, she asked when I planned to sell my house because a broke widower shouldn't live alone. Before continuing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and write in the comments, where are you listening from? I smiled when my daughter handed me the gift card. $5. Starbucks. Still in the plastic sleeve from the checkout aisle. She didn't even try to hide the barcode. It's the thought that counts, right, Dad? Emma said, her voice bright and careless, like she was doing me a favor by remembering me at all. I looked at it, turned it over once. The table had gone quiet, not the comfortable silence of family, the held breath kind, the kind where everyone knows something ugly just happened but nobody wants to name it. Her husband, Marcus, smirked into his wine glass. Their son, my grandson Tyler, 7 years old, was the only one still eating, oblivious, working on his third helping of the prime rib I'd spent 4 hours preparing. Thank you, sweetheart, I said. I set the card down next to my plate. Didn't look at it again. Emma's smile faltered just slightly. She'd expected something. Hurt, maybe. Embarrassment. Some visible crack in my composure that would justify what she'd just done. I gave her nothing. You're welcome, she said, recovering quickly. Then, turning to Marcus with that laugh she'd perfected somewhere between law school and her partnership High and Hollow, she added, I figured Dad could use it, you know, since he's always complaining about the price of coffee. I'd never complained about coffee in my life. Marcus chuckled. His mother, Diane, 71, wearing enough jewelry to fund a semester of college, nodded like Emma had said something wise. Well, Diane said, dabbing her mouth with the linen napkin I'd ironed that morning, it's important to be practical, especially now. Especially now. The words hung there like bait on a hook I didn't bite. I'd invited 8 people to Christmas dinner. Emma, Marcus, Tyler, Diane, Emma's younger brother Josh and his wife Claire, my sister Linda, and Marcus's father, dead 10 years but still present in every conversation through Diane's tendency to quote him like scripture. I'd started cooking at dawn, herb-crusted prime rib, roasted root vegetables with thyme, garlic mashed potatoes, Parker House rolls from scratch, cranberry sauce, not the canned kind, a bourbon pecan pie that took 3 hours alone. The house smelled like a holiday, looked like one too. I'd put up the tree 2 weeks early, white lights, no colored ones. The ornaments Emma and Josh made as kids, still wrapped in tissue paper every year, hung in the places of honor. The stockings Linda had sewn for us decades ago, back when my wife Sarah was still alive, were lined across the mantel. Everything perfect, everything warm. I'd done it all alone. Emma had arrived at 4, 30 minutes. Late. She hadn't brought anything. Not a bottle of wine, not a side dish, not even a bag of rolls from the store. She'd walked in, looked around, and said, God, Dad, you really went all out, trying to impress someone? Now, 2 hours later, her gift card sat next to my untouched plate, and I felt something shift inside me. Not anger. Anger would have been cleaner. This was colder, older. The feeling you get when you finally stop lying to yourself. I looked around the table. Really looked. Josh was focused on his phone, half hidden under the table. Claire was watching Emma, her expression careful. Linda met my eyes and gave me the smallest shake of her head. A warning, don't engage. Tyler, bless him, looked up at me with mashed potatoes on his chin. Grandpa, can I have more pie? Of course, buddy, I said. My voice came out steady. Warm, even. Let me get it for you. I stood, picked up my plate, Walked into the kitchen. The silence followed me. I stood at the counter, hands braced against the marble. Sarah and I had picked that marble 23 years ago. She'd wanted white with gray veins. I'd wanted something darker. We compromised. We always compromised. She'd been gone 6 years. 6 years of Emma calling less and less. 6 years of holidays that felt like obligations she was checking off a list. 6 years of watching my daughter turn into someone I didn't recognize. Someone who thought a $5 gift card was appropriate. I heard the dining room erupt into conversation again. Louder now that I wasn't there. I caught pieces of it. Too sensitive. Just a joke. He doesn't understand how expensive everything is. I closed my eyes. Breathed. Then I opened them, pulled my phone from my pocket, and made a call. It rang twice. "Donald," the voice said. "My lawyer. 28 years of friendship and professional relationship. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Don. Sorry to bother you. You're not bothering me. I'm watching my wife's family argue about politics. You're rescuing me. What do you need?" I looked at the doorway, listened to my daughter's laugh, that hollow, performative sound. "I need you to pull the documents we discussed last month," I said quietly. "All of them. I want them ready to execute first thing after the holiday." Silence on the other end. Then, carefully, "You're sure?" "I'm sure." "Okay. I'll have everything prepared. We can meet the 26th if you want." "Perfect. And Thomas?" "Yeah?" "I'm sorry it came to this." I swallowed. "Me too." I hung up, stood there another moment. Then I cut a large slice of pie, added vanilla ice cream, and brought it out to Tyler. "Here you go, champ." His face lit up. Pure, uncomplicated joy. 7 years old and still capable of delight over pie. I kissed the top of his head. He smelled like the baby shampoo Claire still used on him. Something tightened in my chest. Emma was watching me when I sat back down. Her expression was strange, almost uncertain. "Dad," she said, "I was thinking, we should talk about the house." There it was. "What about it?" I asked. "Well," she glanced at Marcus. He gave her a small nod. "Marcus and I have been discussing it, and we think it might be time for you to consider downsizing. This place is huge. Way too much for one person. The upkeep alone must be killing you." I took a sip of water. "The upkeep is fine, but it's not, though," Marcus cut in. His voice had that smooth, patronizing tone he used when explaining things to people he considered beneath him. "We've done the math, Tom. Property taxes, utilities, maintenance, you're hemorrhaging money staying here. Tom, not Thomas, not even Mr. Ashford, though I'd known him less than a decade and was 30 years his senior. Tom. Plus," Emma continued, her voice taking on a rehearsed quality, "the market's really strong right now. If you sold, you could get a nice little condo somewhere, something manageable, and the equity could set you up comfortably for the rest of my life?" I finished. She blinked. "Well, yes." I nodded slowly, set down my glass with deliberate care. "That's thoughtful of you both to be concerned," I said. Emma relaxed slightly, smiled. "We just want what's best for you, Dad. And honestly, this house, I mean, it's full of memories, I know, but they're painful," Diane interrupted, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "After Sarah passed, God rest her soul, staying here must be so hard. All those reminders." I looked at her. She was wearing Sarah's pearls, the ones I'd given my daughter after the funeral, the ones Emma had promised to treasure. She'd given them to her mother-in-law. "The memories aren't painful," I said quietly. They're all I have left of her. The table went silent again. Dad, Emma said, her tone sharpening. Don't be dramatic. We're trying to help you here. Are you? She sat back. Her eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? I could have said it then. Could have laid it all out. The years of sacrifice. The college tuition, every penny. The law school bills I'd covered when her scholarships fell short. The down payment on her first house. The $32,000 for the wedding she'd insisted on having at that vineyard in Napa. The way she'd promised, tearfully, that she'd never forget what I'd done for her. The way she had, anyway. Instead, I smiled. Nothing, I said, just wondering if you'd actually thought this through. Of course we have, Marcus said. We've been thinking about it for months. Months. They'd been planning this for months. Well, I said, standing again, I appreciate your concern. Really. But I'm not selling. Emma's face flushed. Dad, the house stays, I said, my voice firm but not loud. It was your mother's. It's mine. And that's the end of the discussion. I picked up my plate. Tyler's. Started gathering dishes. You're being stubborn, Emma said. I'm being clear. You're being selfish, she snapped. Do you have any idea what this place will be worth when… She stopped. Her mouth clicked shut. When I die, she meant. When I'm gone, and she can finally cash in. Linda stood up quickly. Let me help you with those dishes, Thomas. Josh finally looked up from his phone. His eyes darted between me and Emma, processing what he'd missed. I carried the dishes into the kitchen. Linda followed. The moment we were out of sight, she grabbed my arm. Don't, she said. Don't say something you can't take back. I already called Donald. Her eyes widened. You're really going to do it? I really am. Thomas, she's your daughter. I know. I set the plates down. Looked at my sister. But right now, Linda, I don't like her very much, and I'm tired of pretending that's okay. Linda stared at me. Then, slowly, she nodded. Okay, she said. Okay, then I'm with you. We heard Emma's voice from the dining room, sharp and carrying. Ungrateful, that's what it is. We include him in our lives, invite him to things. You invited him? Josh's voice, incredulous. This is his house, Em. You know what I mean. I closed my eyes, felt the weight of 64 years settle onto my shoulders. The last 6 had aged me more than the previous 58 combined. I thought about Sarah. What she'd say if she could see this. She'd be heartbroken. But she'd also understand why I'd made the call. I walked back out. Everyone went quiet. Tyler was looking worried now, picking up on the tension even if he didn't understand it. I think, I said calmly, it's time to open the rest of the gifts. Emma's expression was brittle. Fine. We moved to the living room. The tree lights seemed less warm than they had that morning. I sat in my chair, Sarah's favorite chair, the one by the window, and watched as everyone exchanged presents. Josh gave me a nice flannel shirt. Claire, a book I'd mentioned wanting. Linda, a bottle of very good scotch, and a knowing look that said we'd be opening it later. Emma gave Tyler a new tablet. Diane gave him clothes he'd never wear. Marcus gave him a gaming console I knew Emma had already decided was inappropriate. Finally, Emma handed Marcus a small box. He opened it with theatrical slowness. A watch, rose gold, easily $5,000. Baby, he breathed. You shouldn't have. You deserve it, Emma said, kissing his cheek. You work so hard. The irony wasn't lost on me. My daughter, who'd just given me a $5 gift card, had spent $5,000 on her husband's watch. I looked down at the card, still in my pocket, pulled it out. looked at it one more time. Then I stood. I have something for everyone, too, I said. Emma glanced up, surprised. Oh? Not tonight, though. It'll be delivered over the next few days. Something I've been working on for a while. That's cryptic, Marcus said with that smirk I'd grown to loathe. It's meant to be, I replied. I looked at Tyler. He was yawning, curled against Claire's side. Buddy, I said, crouching down next to him. You have fun tonight? He nodded sleepily. The pie was really good, Grandpa. I'm glad. Can we do this again? For New Year's? I glanced at Emma. She was watching me with something like suspicion now. We'll see, I said. But Tyler, I want you to remember something. Real family, the kind that matters, shows up because they want to, not because they have to. Okay? He nodded, not really understanding. I kissed his forehead, stood. Thank you all for coming, I said. Drive safe. It wasn't quite 8 o'clock. Emma's mouth fell open. You're kicking us out? I'm tired, I said simply. It's been a long day. We haven't even had coffee. There's a Starbucks on the way home, I said, looking at her directly. I'm sure you know where it is. Her face went red. Marcus stood, indignant. This is incredibly rude, Tom. Then don't let me keep you, I said. Josh was already gathering their coats. Claire, herding a confused Tyler toward the door. Linda stayed planted in her seat, scotch in hand, trying not to smile. Emma stood last. She looked at me with something I couldn't quite read. Anger, hurt, something else underneath. I don't know what's gotten into you, she said. Maybe I'm just tired of being treated like a burden, I replied quietly. She flinched. They left in a flurry of cold air and stiff goodbyes. Tyler waved from the car window. I waved back. The door closed. The house was silent. Linda looked at me, raised her glass. To telling the truth, she said. I grabbed a glass, poured myself 3 fingers of the scotch she'd brought. To telling the truth, I echoed. We drank. And outside, through the window, I watched Emma's car disappear down the driveway, taillights fading into the dark December night. This, I thought, was just the beginning. The morning after Christmas, I woke at 5:30. Old habit. 38 years of getting up before dawn to make hospital rounds doesn't leave you just because you've retired. I made coffee. The good stuff, not whatever $5 bought at Starbucks. Sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and started going through files. I'd been preparing for this for 6 months. Ever since Emma's last visit, back in June, she'd come by on a Tuesday afternoon, unannounced. I'd been in the garden, pulling weeds from Sarah's rose beds. The ones I still maintained like she was coming back to see them. Dad, she'd said, standing on the patio in heels that sank into the grass, we need to talk about your finances. Not hello, not how are you, straight to business. I'd sat with her in the kitchen. She'd pulled out a folder, spreadsheets, charts, a whole presentation, like I was a client she was trying to convince. You're not being smart with your money, she'd said. This house is an asset, Dad, a depreciating one. Every year you stay here, you're losing value, and your retirement accounts, you're too conservative. You should be more aggressive with your investments. I'm 64, I'd said. Conservative is appropriate. Not if you want to actually enjoy your retirement. I am enjoying it. She'd given me that look, the one that said she knew better, that I was a child who needed guidance. Let me help you, she'd said. Let me and Marcus take over your financial planning. We know what we're doing. That's when I'd understood. It wasn't help she was offering. It was control. I'd smiled. said I'd think about it. She'd left satisfied, believing she'd planted a seed. Instead, she'd planted suspicion. I'd called Donald that week, set up a meeting. We'd gone through everything: the house, the accounts, the life insurance, the investments Sarah and I had carefully built over 4 decades. "What do you want to do?" he'd asked. "I want to protect it," I'd said. "From people who see it as theirs before I'm even gone." He'd nodded. Understood immediately. He'd seen it before. Adult children circling aging parents like vultures. "Let's make some changes," he'd said. We had. Now, sitting at my kitchen table on December 26th, I looked at the documents one more time. Everything was ready. I called Donald at 9. He answered on the first ring. "Morning, Thomas. You sleep?" "Not much." "You?" "About the same." "You still want to proceed?" "I do." "All right. Come by at 11. We'll finalize everything." I drove to his office through empty post-Christmas streets. The world had that exhausted, hung-over quality. Decorations that had seemed magical yesterday now looked tired. Donald's office was in a restored Victorian downtown. Old money, quiet money. The kind of place that dealt with estates and trusts, and people who understood that real wealth wasn't loud. He met me in the conference room, spread the documents across the mahogany table. "Let's go through it," he said. "The house," retitled, no longer solely in my name, now held in an irrevocable trust, with Linda as primary trustee and Josh as secondary. Emma was listed as a beneficiary with conditions she'd triggered the violation of last night, though she didn't know it yet. The retirement accounts, beneficiaries changed, percentages shifted, the life insurance policy $800,000 completely restructured, the investment portfolio protected, locked down with instructions that couldn't be overridden without multiple trustees agreeing. "You understand," Donald said carefully, "that once you sign these, Emma's access is essentially eliminated. She has no legal claim to anything except what the trust explicitly grants her. And given the conditions you've outlined, that's not much. I understand. She'll fight this. Let her." He studied me. "Thomas, I have to ask, are you doing this out of hurt or wisdom?" I thought about that. Really thought. "Both," I said finally. "But mostly wisdom. I'm protecting what Sarah and I built from someone who's forgotten its value." He nodded, pushed the papers forward. I signed them, every page. My hand didn't shake once. "Done," Donald said. "As of now, your estate is locked down. Emma can't touch any of it unless she meets the conditions outlined. And frankly, based on what you've told me, she won't. When will she find out? That's up to you. You can tell her now, or wait until it becomes relevant." "I'll wait," I said, "but not long." I left his office feeling lighter, clearer, like I'd finally stopped carrying something I'd been dragging for years. My phone rang as I got to my car. "Emma." I stared at it, let it ring. She left a voicemail. I listened to it in the parking lot. "Dad, it's me. Look, I think we need to talk about last night. You were really rude to Marcus and his mother. I don't know what's going on with you, but this attitude needs to stop. Call me back." This attitude. I deleted the voicemail, drove home. Linda was waiting on my porch when I arrived. She had a casserole dish in her hands and a knowing expression on her face. "You did it," she said. "I did it. Good." She walked inside, headed straight for the kitchen, started making tea like this was her house, too. In many ways, it was. She'd been here almost as much as I had over the years. Emma called me this morning, Linda said. She's upset. Says you've been acting strange. Strange how? She used the word erratic. She's worried about your mental state. I laughed. Couldn't help it. My mental state. I told her your mental state was fine, that maybe she should worry about her own behavior instead. What did she say to that? She hung up on me. We sat at the table, drank tea. Linda had brought lemon cake. We ate it in comfortable silence. You know what Sarah would say right now? Linda asked. What? She'd say, you should have done this sooner. I nodded. She was right. Sarah had been the first one to notice Emma changing. The first one to point out how our daughter's calls always seemed to come with an agenda. How her visits felt transactional. She loved Emma, I said. Of course she did. But she didn't like who Emma was becoming. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. A text from Josh. Emma's freaking out. Says you kicked her out last night. What happened? I showed Linda. What are you going to tell him? The truth. I called Josh. He answered immediately. Dad. Hey. Emma's saying, Josh, let me explain. Not over the phone. Can you and Claire come by tomorrow? Pause. Is everything okay? Everything's fine. Better than fine. I just need to talk to you both. Bring Tyler if you want. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. 10? Perfect. I hung up. Linda was smiling. You're really doing this, she said. I really am. That night, alone in the house, I walked through every room, touched the walls Sarah and I had painted, the floors we'd refinished, the kitchen we'd remodeled when Emma was 12 and Josh was 8. Every inch of this place was us. Our work, our money, our dreams. I'd built a cardiology practice from nothing. Sarah had taught high school English for 35 years. We'd lived carefully, saved aggressively, never took the flashy vacations or drove the expensive cars, put every extra dollar into this house and our kids' futures. We'd done everything right. And somewhere along the way, Emma had learned the wrong lessons from it. She'd learned that money came easy, that sacrifice was invisible, that love was transactional, and generosity was weakness. I stood in the bedroom I'd shared with Sarah. Her side of the closet still had some of her clothes. I couldn't bear to clear them all out. Sometimes I still reached for them, just to remember what her sweaters felt like. I hope I'm doing the right thing, I said, to the empty room. The house was quiet, but I felt, somehow, like she heard me, like she approved. Josh and Claire arrived at 10 exactly. Tyler bounded in ahead of them, full of 7-year-old energy despite the cold. Grandpa, can we make cookies? Absolutely, buddy. Later, though, okay? I need to talk to your mom and dad first. His face fell slightly, but he nodded. Claire had brought coloring books. She set him up in the living room with juice and crayons, while the adults went to the kitchen. Josh looked nervous. Emma called me 3 times last night. She says you're having some kind of breakdown. Do I look like I'm having a breakdown? He studied me, shook his head. You look good, actually. Better than you have in a while. That's because I finally did something I should have done months ago. I laid it out for them. Everything. Emma's June visit, her request to take over my finances, the Christmas dinner, the gift card, the conversation about selling the house. Claire's eyes got wider with each detail. Josh just looked sad. I knew she'd been stressed about money, he said. Their lifestyle is expensive. The house in Westmont, the private school for Tyler. Tyler goes to private school? I interrupted. Yeah, St. Augustine's. 30,000 a year. I blinked. Emma had told me Tyler was in public school, that they were being practical about expenses. When did that start? 2 years ago. 2 years. right around the time Emma had started really pushing me about the house. Anyway, I continued, I've restructured everything. The house, the accounts, all of it. It's in a trust now. Linda's the primary trustee. You're secondary. Josh went pale. Dad, you didn't. I did. Emma's going to lose her mind. Emma already lost her mind. That's why I did it. Claire reached across the table, took my hand. Her eyes were wet. I'm so sorry, she said. I knew things were tense, but I didn't realize how bad it had gotten. It's not your fault. She's my sister-in-law. I should have said something. No one should have to referee my relationship with my daughter. But I appreciate you caring. Josh ran his hands through his hair. He looked like he had as a kid when he was trying to solve a problem too big for him. What happens now? He asked. Now, nothing. I live my life. The house stays mine until I die. Then it goes to the trust. You and Linda manage it. Emma gets a percentage if and only if she meets certain conditions. What conditions? I pulled out a copy of the document, slid it across. Josh read it. His eyebrows climbed higher with each paragraph. Dad, this is really specific. It needs to be. The conditions were simple but firm. Emma would receive her distribution only if she could demonstrate 1 year of regular, voluntary contact with me. Not transactional calls about money. Not obligatory holiday visits. Real relationship. Calls just to talk. Visits without agenda. And she'd have to write a letter acknowledging the financial support I'd provided over the years. Not an apology, just acknowledgement. If she met those conditions within 5 years of my death, she'd receive 25% of the estate. If not, her share would be split between Josh and 3 charities Sarah and I had always supported. She's going to say you're punishing her, Josh said quietly. I'm not punishing her. I'm setting boundaries. There's a difference. Claire nodded. I think it's fair. Emma won't. Emma doesn't have to. It's done. We sat in silence for a moment. Tyler's voice drifted in from the living room, narrating some story to himself as he colored. Are you going to tell her? Josh asked. Eventually, when it's relevant. When's that? When she pushes again, which she will. I was right. 2 days later, Emma showed up unannounced. 3 in the afternoon. I was reading on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the last of the snow melt. She got out of her car like she was going to war, heels clicking on the flagstone. Face set. We need to talk, she said. Hello to you too. She stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Don't play dumb, Dad, Josh told me. Of course he did. I'd expected that. Then you know, I said simply. Her face was red. From cold or anger, I couldn't tell. Maybe both. You're really going to cut me out? Your own daughter? I didn't cut you out, Emma. I protected what I built. There's a difference. By making Josh the trustee? By putting conditions on my inheritance? By making sure that if something happens to me, my assets go where I want them to go. That's called estate planning. You should know. You're the one who suggested I get more organized with my finances. She flinched. That's not what I meant. No? What did you mean? I meant... She stopped. Breathed. Tried again. I meant that I wanted to help you. Make sure you weren't being taken advantage of. By whom? She didn't answer. Emma, you gave me a $5 gift card for Christmas. After I spent 2 days preparing dinner for your family. After I've spent $600,000 on your education, your wedding, your life. $5. It was a joke, she said, but her voice cracked. It wasn't funny. She came up the steps, sat in the chair across from me. For a moment, she looked like my daughter again, the girl who used to help Sarah in the garden, who used to sit here on summer evenings reading books. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For the gift card. For being thoughtless. I've been stressed about money, and I took it out on you." "Why are you stressed about money? You and Marcus both have good jobs." She looked away. "We're leveraged. The house, Tyler's school. Marcus's mother has medical bills we're helping with. Everything costs more than we planned. Then adjust your lifestyle." It's not that simple. It is, though. That's exactly what it is. Sarah and I lived on 70% of our income for 40 years. We saved the rest. That's how we built this. I gestured at the house. That's how I paid for your college, your wedding, your life. Emma's jaw tightened. You think I don't appreciate that? I think you've forgotten it. I haven't. When's the last time you thanked me? I asked. Actually thanked me, not just said the words because you're supposed to. When's the last time you called just to see how I was doing? When's the last time you came here because you wanted to, not because you needed something? She stared at me. Tears started running down her face. That's not fair, she whispered. Maybe not, but it's honest. She wiped her eyes, smudged her makeup. So what now? You're just going to shut me out? I'm not shutting you out. The conditions for your inheritance are simple. Be my daughter again, not my financial planner, not my real estate advisor. My daughter. I am your daughter. Then act like it. She stood. Her hands were shaking. You're going to regret this, she said. Maybe, but right now, I don't. She left without another word, got in her car, drove away too fast. I sat there until the sun went down, until the cold seeped through the blanket and my fingers went numb. Linda called that evening. Emma called me, she said. She's devastated. Good, Thomas. I mean it. Maybe being devastated will make her think, or it'll make her angrier. Then she'll be angry. That's her choice. Linda sighed. You're not wrong, but you're her father. This is going to hurt her. She hurt me first. That's not how love works. No, I agreed. But it's how boundaries work. January came. The house felt emptier than usual. Holidays were over. Decorations came down. The tree went to the curb. I'd expected Emma to reach out, to try again. She didn't. Instead, I got a letter from a different lawyer. Not Donald. Someone from a firm in the city. Marcus's firm. I read it sitting at the kitchen table. My coffee went cold. The letter was professionally vicious. It claimed I was mentally incompetent, that I'd made decisions under duress, that the restructuring of my estate was evidence of diminished capacity and undue influence, specifically, influence from Linda. They were threatening to contest everything. I called Donald immediately. I got it too, he said. I was about to call you. Can they do this? They can try. They'll lose. You're demonstrably competent. We have documentation, medical records, the cognitive assessment we did as part of the estate planning. But Thomas, this is going to get ugly. Let it. You're sure? I thought about Emma's face on the porch, the tears that hadn't moved me the way they used to. I'm sure. All right, I'll respond. But you should prepare yourself. This kind of thing, it destroys families. This family's already destroyed. I said, I'm just acknowledging it. The next 2 months were legal warfare, conducted through letters and emails. Emma's lawyers demanded evaluations. Donald provided them. They demanded depositions. Donald scheduled them. I went through it all calmly, answered every question, took every test they wanted, came back demonstrably sound. The lawyers shifted tactics, started questioning Linda's motives, suggesting she'd manipulated me, that Josh was complicit. Linda called me furious. They're trying to make me look like some kind of gold-digging sister. I don't even want your money, Thomas. I know. So why are they doing this? Because Emma can't accept that I chose boundaries over her. In March, things escalated. Emma filed for emergency guardianship, claimed I was a danger to myself, that I was neglecting the property, neglecting my health. It was absurd, demonstrably false, but it meant a court date. I sat in a family courtroom on a cold Tuesday morning, Emma and Marcus on one side, with their lawyers, me and Donald on the other, Linda and Josh in the gallery. The judge was a woman in her 50s named Patricia Morrison. She looked tired, like she'd seen this exact scenario too many times. Emma's lawyer presented their case. I was isolated, depressed, making erratic financial decisions, cutting off my daughter without cause. Donald presented ours. Medical records, cognitive assessments, bank statements showing the house was maintained beautifully, character witnesses my former colleagues from the hospital, neighbors, friends. Then the judge asked to speak to me directly. Mr. Ashford, do you understand what your daughter is alleging? I do, Your Honor. She says you've cut her out of your life without reason. Is that accurate? No, Your Honor. I've set boundaries. There's a difference. Explain. So I did, calmly, without emotion, laid out the years of financial support, the gradual shift in Emma's behavior, the Christmas dinner, the gift card. The judge's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. And the restructuring of your estate that was your decision? Entirely mine, made with clear mind and sound counsel. Your daughter believes you're being influenced by your sister. My sister has been my support system since my wife died. That's not influence. That's family. Judge Morrison looked at Emma. Miss Ashford Pierce, does your father seem incompetent to you right now? Emma hesitated. He's not himself. That's not what I asked. Silence. Your Honor? Emma's lawyer interjected. Our concern is, I'm asking your client, the judge said sharply. Emma looked at me, really looked. For the first time in months, maybe years, we actually saw each other. No, she said quietly. He seems fine. Then this case is dismissed. Judge Morrison's gavel came down. Mr. Ashford is demonstrably competent. His estate planning is his own business. And frankly, Miss Ashford Pierce, if you spent half the energy on rebuilding your relationship with your father that you've spent trying to control his assets, you might not be in this position. The courtroom was silent. Emma's face crumpled. We were dismissed. Outside, on the courthouse steps, Emma tried to approach me. Marcus held her back. Don't, he said. You've done enough. But Emma pulled away, came toward me. Dad, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But it did, I said. I was scared. Marcus said we needed to protect our future, Tyler's future, and you chose his fears over my dignity. She started crying. Not the delicate tears from before. Real, ugly sobbing. I don't know how to fix this, she said. You read the conditions, I replied. You know exactly how. I walked away. Linda caught up with me at my car. That was brutal. It needed to be. Do you think she'll actually do it? Meet the conditions? I don't know, I said honestly. But that's her choice now, not mine. Spring came slowly that year. I worked in the garden, planted Sarah's roses again, joined a volunteer program at the hospital, mentoring young cardiologists. Started living my life instead of waiting for Emma to acknowledge it, Josh and Claire visited regularly. Tyler came over every other weekend. We made cookies, played in the yard, built a birdhouse. Linda and I took a trip to the coast in April, stayed in a bed and breakfast, watched the ocean, didn't talk about Emma unless we had to. I started feeling like myself again. The self I'd been before I became defined by my daughter's disappointment. Then, in May, I got a letter. Not from lawyers, from Emma. My hands shook as I opened it. Dad, I've been trying to write this for 2 months. Every version sounded like an excuse or a justification. So, I'm just going to tell the truth. I took you for granted. For years, maybe since Mom died, maybe longer, I treated you like a resource instead of a person. Like you owed me something instead of recognizing that you'd already given me everything. The Christmas gift card was cruel. I knew it when I bought it. I did it anyway because I was angry that you weren't offering to help us financially, and I wanted you to feel small. I wanted you to understand what it felt like to not have enough. But you've never made me feel that way. Not once. Even when I know we've asked for too much, expected too much, you gave anyway. I don't know if you can forgive me. I'm not sure I'd forgive me, but I want to try. I want to be your daughter again, not your adversary. I know there are conditions to my inheritance, Josh told me, and I understand why. I hate that I gave you reason to write them, but I'm going to meet them, not because I want the money, but because I want you back. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. Emma, I read it 3 times. Then I called her. She answered on the first ring. Dad, I got your letter. Silence. Then, voice shaking. And I think, I said slowly, that it's a start. She exhaled, a sob mixed with relief. Can I come see you? She asked. Yes. When? Whenever you want. Tomorrow? Tomorrow's good. She came alone. No Marcus. No Tyler. Just her. She looked smaller somehow. Like the weight she'd been carrying had finally crushed something, and now there was more room inside her for lightness. We sat on the porch. The same place we'd fought months ago. The roses look beautiful, she said. Your mom's roses. I remember helping her plant them. You were 8. You got dirt all over yourself. She took pictures. Emma smiled. I'd forgotten that. We forget a lot of good things when we're busy being angry. She nodded. I've been so angry, Dad. At everything. The stress. The money. Feeling like we were failing. And I took it out on you because you were safe. Because I knew you'd still be there. I was, I said. Until I wasn't. I don't blame you for that. I'm not looking for blame or forgiveness right now, Emma. I'm looking for honesty. I know. She turned to face me. So here's honesty. I married someone who thinks like Mom did, but without her heart. Marcus sees the world as transactions, and somewhere along the way, I started seeing it that way too. Started seeing you that way. And now I'm trying to remember who I was before I forgot. We talked for hours about Sarah, about money, about Tyler and what kind of grandmother Sarah would have been, about the life Emma thought she was supposed to want versus the one she actually had. It wasn't healing, not yet, but it was honest. She started coming once a week. Sometimes we just had coffee. Sometimes we worked in the garden. Sometimes we didn't talk much at all, just existed in the same space without agenda. Tyler came with her sometimes. He was growing, losing teeth, getting taller. He still loved my cookies. Marcus never came. Emma said they were in counseling, that she'd realized she'd married him for security, and somewhere along the way security had become a cage. I didn't offer advice, just listened. In August, on what would have been Sarah's 62nd birthday, Emma brought flowers for the garden. We planted them together while Tyler chased butterflies. Mom would have loved this, Emma said. She would have loved that you're here. Emma wiped her eyes. Do you think she'd forgive me? Your mother forgave you before you even did anything wrong. That's how she loved. And you? I looked at my daughter, really looked. Saw the girl who used to read on this porch. The woman who'd lost her way. The person trying to find it again. I'm getting there, I said. It was the truth. By December, almost a full year since the Christmas that broke us, Emma had called me 63 times. Just to talk, just to check in. She'd sent cards on random Tuesdays, brought groceries when I didn't ask, sat with me through a cardiology documentary I wanted to watch even though it bored her. She'd met every condition in the trust, and more. On Christmas Eve, she called. Dad, I know we usually do Christmas at our house, but would you host again, like you used to? I thought about last year. The prime rib, the gift card, the breaking. I'd like that, I said. Really? Really? Can I help? With the cooking? You hate cooking. I hate cooking badly. Maybe you could teach me. So on Christmas Eve, Emma came over at noon. We made Parker House rolls together. She burned the first batch. We laughed about it. Tyler helped set the table. Josh and Claire brought wine. Linda brought her scotch and a knowing smile. Even Marcus came, though he stayed quiet, polite, chastened, maybe. We ate prime rib again. This time, Emma brought a gift, a photo album, handmade, pictures of us through the years, her and Sarah in the garden, me teaching her to ride a bike. The four of us, Sarah, me, Emma, Josh, on vacation in Maine when the kids were small. And on the last page, a letter. Dad, thank you for every sacrifice I never thanked you for every dollar I took for granted, for every moment you showed up when I didn't. Thank you for loving me enough to set boundaries, for teaching me that real family isn't about obligation, it's about choice. I choose you every day, not because of what you give me, but because of who you are. I'm grateful. I'm sorry. I'm here. Love, Emma. I read it twice. The table had gone quiet. I looked at my daughter. She was crying. So was I. Thank you, I said. We didn't hug. Not yet. But we sat there, across the table from each other. And it felt like maybe we were finding our way back. Later, after everyone left, Linda stayed behind to help clean up. You did good, she said. We'll see. No, you did good. You set boundaries. You held them, and she rose to meet them. I nodded, felt the weight of the year settle. Sarah would be proud, Linda added. You think? No. That night, alone in the house that was still mine, I sat in Sarah's chair by the window, looked out at the lights Emma had helped me hang. The gift card from last year was still in my desk drawer. I'd kept it, not as evidence, as reminder. I pulled it out, looked at it one last time, then I tore it up, threw it in the fireplace, watched it burn. Outside, snow was starting to fall, the first of the season. It made everything look clean, new. I poured myself a glass of Linda's scotch, raised it to the empty room. To boundaries, I said, to truth, to family that chooses to stay. The fire crackled, the house was warm, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was home. If you like this story, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments. To listen to more stories, click on the window on the right. Thank you for being with us.